Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at a sweet game that I had in the Iowa, the Tier 9 American battleship. I'm diffed up with my buddy Ani and his friend Leopard, and they're playing in the Iowa and the Jutland respectively, and we're playing some domination here on the map, Trap. So, yeah, I know I said this in my last video. I've been away for a little bit, just trying to finish out the school semester on a high note, which I did. I got all A's on my finals, and I ended up with a nice 4.0 GPA for my first year back at college. So I was really happy with all the effort that I put into my schoolwork, and now, finally, it's summertime, time to take a break, and time to get back to some World of Warships content here on YouTube. I know that I've been kind of slacking. Puddin's been putting in a lot of effort to keep the channel afloat, no pun intended, over the last month and a half, 2 months. So thank you, Puddin. I really do appreciate it. But it's time to get back into the grind here. So I'll be back to uploading my normal amount of content each week. So when I did have time to play during the past 4 or 5 weeks, I played ships that I've played a lot of. And the first salvo of the game, going down range, get a nice Citadel on the Admiral Hipper with an over-penetration as well, so a nice about 15k salvo to start the game. I've played ships that I've really liked, or I've played a lot of the test ships. I gotta admit, the Pobeda, oh boy, well, I can't really say anything about it, but I think everybody knows by now how nice that BB is, so I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of ships that I have played a lot of games in, Sims, Iowa, Montana, and this game that you're going to see here is just a good one, a good example of what the Iowa is able to do. It's certainly not the strongest battleship in the game at Tier 9, or at the high tiers in general, but it's certainly not the weakest, and it still has a pretty nice role that it can play here in today's meta in World of Warships. So, as you can see in chat really quickly, that guy was a little less than surprised that he ate a Citadel going broadside at long range. German turtleback armor really does struggle to hold up to these 16-inch guns at range, but I guess somehow he thought that that was some rare occurrence. And speaking of the guns, they are some of the best performing guns in the game. You get the very good 406mm guns that you're used to on the American battleships, starting at Tier 8 with the North Carolina, and you get the same guns, well, I guess technically slightly different than the North Cal, but I digress. You get 406mm guns on the Montana at Tier 10, and they're very good performing. And one of the reasons why is because, of course, it has the special module where you can equip it, and it gives your guns minus 11% to the dispersion instead of the normal minus 7% that other nations can get. So that means that this ship is very accurate, slinging shells around at all ranges. And as you can see, I've already picked up 35,000 points of damage in the very early going of the game. I got a good salvo on the Hipper, a good salvo on the Freddy, and another good salvo there on that King George V. And American battleships, if you can get used to the shell arcs, if you can get used to the shell drag, which is very bad indeed, and if you are able to land shells at range, these guns are very consistently good performers, excuse me. Now, what I'm doing here, I'm heading down to the A-cap. You can see that my buddy in the battleship behind me is trailing, and Ani is down there just getting ready to, I guess, go back, turn around, and maybe go to the A-cap. We'll see what he does here. I don't quite remember. But you can see that the majority of the enemy team, about 9 ships, disincluding the aircraft carrier, are coming down here to try and do battle at the A-cap. So, obviously, we're going to be outnumbered down here, so there's no reason for me to go around to the corner bow on. And what I'm going to try and do is stay as far away as I can and let these guns go to work. The enemy King George V, once again sailing broadside at about 18 kilometers. I do manage to get the shot off before I go behind the island, and you're going to see that really nice dispersion that is a common feature when the Iowa shoots its guns in anger, and another very good solid hit at the stern of the ship for about 14,000 points of damage, and I do manage to knock out his rear turret. So 55,000 points of damage, just a little bit over 4 minutes into the game, and all of it has come at long range, which is fantastic. Now, actually, Ani decided to turn around and go over towards the B-cap, and he has caught a Sims kind of flat-footed, stuck out in the open, so that Sims is going to run into a world of trouble. And you can see here, I'm still in a somewhat kiting position. Obviously, if the enemy team really does decide to push the corner, I can turn hard to the right and go use the map border to my convenience. But you can see that I'm now starting to get focused by not just the Duke of York, but there is an Azure Lane Montpelier over there hiding behind the rock as well. So I do decide to get my scout plane open just so I can see exactly what kind of a maneuvering that he's doing. It looks like he's going in reverse, so I'm going to aim well above the stern of the ship, and I'm going to let my shells go downrange. And, this is a great example of using the spot plane to not extend your range, but to be able to see over islands. And it's something that I've been doing for at least over a year now, if not more time, swapping out the fighter plane for the scout plane just to be able to look over islands. It's very, very important. And when ships are moving at slow speed, you can also get a much better gauge over how fast they're moving as well. Now, this Duke of York decides to flash his broadside once again. So, of course, at 15.4 kilometers, this is very good range for the Iowa's guns to do some work. And you can see, once again, the dispersion looks pretty darn good. And the shells are going to fall in right on the belt armor for 19,000 damage with 6 penetrating hits. Very good stuff right there. And now he has taken 2 big meaty salvos in a row. The first one from my buddy in the Iowa, and then from myself, so he is not feeling good. But you can also see that I'm far enough away from these enemy ships that I am able to disengage whenever I feel like it. So that Freddy decided to shoot at me. He, I guess, did not take into account that I was moving in reverse. A little bit of reverse side scraping, I guess, if you will. And now I get another salvo going downrange at him. I aimed a little bit too low, but I still managed 11,000 points of damage as a couple of the shells landed about 500 meters off of his starboard side. So this is a perfect position. If the enemy team does not want to come push around here, then I'm going to be able to sit here and farm to my heart's content. And I'm still virtually at full health, so I don't really have to worry about too much going on right now. This enemy team is being very passive, and it's allowed us to build up an over 300-point lead. Unfortunately, as I say that, Ani does go down. So now you can see that the enemy team has us basically outnumbered down here 2-1. And unfortunately, with Ani dying in the vicinity of the B cap, that enemy team is going to be able to get that middle cap under their control, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult for us to be able to hold on down here because having a destroyer is very important. If nothing else, it's able to provide that scouting capability when aircraft carriers are present or not. Obviously, the planes can't be everywhere at once, so it's going to take some very judicial thinking here to be able to get out of this situation. Even though I'm not in imminent danger right now, once the enemy team decides to push in here, I'm going to have to really think out my next maneuvers accordingly, because of course I'm facing the map border right now and I am in reverse. There is a smoke screen that is going to be able to provide me some concealment right here because that Gneisenau is still out of range, but I do have a fire burning on the bow of my ship, so that is why I'm not undetected right now. But this enemy team is going to get a little bit more bold. They've now killed the second of our 3 destroyers, so obviously they're going to be feeling pretty good about trying to do something here. However, I make a little bit of a mistake right here. You can see that the enemy team is still playing kind of timid, so I decided to make a full turn to the left, and I'm going to, at this point, I was thinking, get a little bit bow on and maybe make my way towards the island that's in H2 with the guns trained over the starboard side and basically angling a little bit or just good enough to be able to not eat too much damage. But then as I'm looking at the minimap more, I realize that that Gneisenau is hugging the map border and he is pushing exactly due west. So I am going to get detected here right now, which is unfortunate. And now you can see that there's a couple cruisers and that Freddy that are basically hodgepodging right next to that island, and they both are moving in. So immediately my plans have to change, and I realize that the only way to get out of this situation is for me to flash a broadside to the enemy team. Now, the other Freddy that's to the left on 7,000 hit points is not looking at me, which is great. So there's only 2 battleships that can really punish me, and I'm going to trust my luck here. That Gneisenau only has 6 guns. He might not be able to get a good salvo in on me, and that Freddy in front of me is only able to use his 2 forward turrets. So I have to risk this turn instead of staying bow on. I do take a Citadel and change right through the A turret, but that's okay because I had enough hit points to work with, and now I'm able to get back into that kiting position. So a bit of a mistake right there, if I do say so myself. I really should have turned around, rode the map border, been out of line of sight and in concealment, but you can see there that I felt that this was the best decision to make, because getting stuck bow on right there, I would have just been farmed to death by the Hipper, by that Montpellier, and then of course the Freddy and the Gneisenau secondaries would have been able to get close enough to me as well. So in a situation like that, it's a-okay to throw away some hit points as long as you know for a fact that you're going to be able to get out of dodge. Could the Freddy have triple Citadel'd me with his front guns? Sure, but I'm willing to take that risk that he's not going to do so. So now that I'm in a better position, I'm actually going to try to turn to starboard and get the killing blow here on the enemy Gneiss. Now, my buddy unfortunately shot a little bit too high on him, so he's still at 17,500 hit points. I get all of my shells going down range. The dispersion looks pretty good. You can see the shells falling right in as I pick up the Confederate, but then I run into my friend. And this is why, in my opinion, sitting bow on, especially in a crowded environment like this, is not necessarily the best play to make. To be fair, I should have been paying a little bit more attention to the minimap, but also, to be fair, when you are engaging a lot of enemy ships and you're focusing more on your aim and who to shoot, it can be pretty distracting, to be honest with you. So it's easy to forget exactly where you're at on the minimap. However, I didn't lose too much of my forward momentum, and I should be able to get angled up and behind this island cover before I were to eat too much damage. And you can see the one shell does go through my superstructure, but that's a-okay. I got a heal coming back in about a minute. I still have 35,000 or 33,000 hit points to work with, and the enemy team is once again not pushing at the same time. You can see that one Freddy is coming around the corner, but the KGV and the Alaska back there actually decided to give up the push, and they headed back there for some reason. And then the rest of the enemy ships are kind of crowding around the A island. If they would have all made a concerted push around the corner, that could have been a really bad issue for myself and my teammates that are around here. But because they're deciding not to do that, I'm actually going to go put myself in a better position. I get my spot plane up a little bit from a bygone era where the planes are able to see through islands. It's still a little bit of a habit that I'm trying to break. But, you know, at this point, I turn back around, but now I'm getting into a position where I'm going to be able to shoot at this hipper and still be angled very well if those ships decided to come around the corner. Some good shells go through the bow for about 9,000 points of damage, but if the Freddy or the Montpellier want to come around the corner, I'm now in a good kiting position, and I still have the one grid square to work with before I would have to actually turn around and ride the border and be in a bad spot. I'm now using my next heal. The hipper, for some reason, decided to turn full broadside. Maybe he was trying to get his torpedoes off, but then again, the hipper only has 6-kilometer torpedoes, so I'm not 100% sure what that was all about, and I do manage to get the Citadel as I secure my first kill of the game. But now, I'm still in a great kiting position, and I'm still in a spot where, well, if the Freddy wanted to shoot at my belt armor, it's not really going to do too much damage, and I am actually in a very, very good position right here. That Montpellier can't come around the corner without me being able to blap him through the nose, and then the Freddy decided to pull out broadside for some reason. I don't turn enough to the left. I'm only able to get 6 of my guns out, but 2 of them managed to get penetrations. I knock out his rear turret, and then I turn just enough to get my B turret going as well. And another good salvo right there is I pick up the high caliber, dealing 179,000 points of damage, reduces that Freddy's hit points to about 15,500. However, he has to move forward, so even though I'm eating some damage from his secondaries, you can see that I'm angled very nicely, and before he gets around the corner, I am able to get off my A and my Y turret, and they do over 10,000 points of damage as I'm able to secure some really good hits on the very stern of his ship. And that's very important. When their superstructure is saturated, when their middle part of the belt armor is saturated, shoot at the bow, shoot at the stern. If it doesn't look blacked out, it has a lot of hit points to be able to give you. And you saw right there, only about 3 shells hit, but I was able to do a very large amount of damage. Now these 2 ships are really stuck there. There's nothing that they can do. The Montpellier, I guess, forgets that I'm here as he's backing up. I get my full 9-gun salute going down range, and the Citadel manages to take care of that tier 7, I think? I don't remember. That American heavy cruiser, or light cruiser, excuse me. And now I've racked up over 200,000 points of damage, and to top it all off, the enemy Graf Zeppelin came down here, last reported in I-4, pinned up against the island, so I should be able to go around the corner before the game ends and rack up some easy damage. So, maybe not the most awesome Iowa gameplay that you've seen from me, maybe not the best battleship gameplay that you've seen from me, but really good shooting at long range sets the tone early on in a game. If you're able to blap ships very early on, it's going to make them a little bit more timid to push around the corner. And we saw at least 5, if not 6 examples where I was able to do 8,000+ damage on enemy ships at long range, either with or without the spot plane up, and it, I guess, made them a little bit more timid to push around the corner, and when they did, I was still able to pick out some decent positions to be able to stave off their assault. Now, unfortunately, if some of you guys in the comments below could let me know what's going on here with this Graf Zeppelin, I'm not 100% sure. Full broadside, 10, 9, 8 kilometers over the next couple shots, and he's literally not eating any damage. Now, am I supposed to aim a little bit further forward? Because, to be honest with you, before this game, I don't think I'd ever had the opportunity to farm a Graf Zeppelin at point-blank range. I know it has that turtle back, but you guys have seen quite a few salvos now. This is the third one in a row where I shoot right at the waterline. I get some penetrations, but I get mostly over penetrations, and I'm really not 100% sure what this is all about. So if anybody can let me know on where exactly I need to shoot these guys at closer ranges to get big damage hits, or if this is just something that you have to deal with, because I have Citadel Graf Zeppelins at long range, but this was definitely confusing to me, because I was thinking that I was going to be able to farm quite a bit more damage before this game was over. The very last salvo does do a bit of damage, 14,000 something, as I aim right near the front part of the Graf Zeppelin, so maybe that's the spot to aim at. I'm not sure. If somebody in the comments could hook me up and let me know if I was aiming improperly, please do so. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results. 547,000 credits received and 4,500 total experience earned. This was not my first win of the day. I picked up Confederate, Dreadnought, Fireproof, and High Caliber, a BB player's delight, dealing 235,000 points of damage off of 94 shell hits. I shot down 9 planes, sank 2 boats, had 3 citadels, and 1 assisted base capture. Taking a look at the team score, 2,583 base XP, certainly not the greatest, but MVP on the team by almost 1,000 base XP, and certainly I was able to hold down the fort, as well as Leopard down there getting 3 frags himself, so a good job by us down there, and then rest in pieces Rob, but that's okay, you still got a kill at the beginning of the game, so our division amounted for half of the enemy fleet destroyed. Taking a look at the detailed report, 235,000 damage dealt, all with the armor-piercing shells from those very good 406mm guns. I also tanked 108,000 points of damage, which was pretty nice. About 32,000 of it was from fires, so that was really good. And, the one thing that I also forgot to mention is that the Iowa, much like other American battleships, now have that upgraded Colorado heal. So if you guys didn't notice at the bottom left, when I could heal, I was able to get back a lot more hit points than American BBs were able to back in the day. So that definitely helps as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this replay. Once again, I'm back. I'll be making content throughout the summer since I don't have school, and it's nice to be back. Thank you guys for all your patience, and I'll see you later.